What is up, PreMed Star? It's Dr. Dale, the author of How to Raise a Doctor and the author of PreMed Mondays, both books available on Amazon.com, so check them out. And of course, you're listening to the PreMed Mondays Mentoring Podcast. You're going to want to pay attention this week. We'll be talking about 5 keys to making straight A's. Check it out. Happy Monday, PreMed Star. So let me start off this week by saying that to all of you listening on the East Coast, the Carolinas and Virginias, our hearts are with you. We're praying for you guys. Charity organizations, we'll be donating and trying to support however we can, okay? So we're with you guys and we're praying, we're rooting for you guys, all right? With that said, I want to encourage you all to stay positive. So I'm going to say it again. Happy Monday, PreMed Star, right? It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a great week, no matter the circumstance. We're going to rise above. We're going to have a great week. All right. Tell yourself that every week. Rise above. Have a great week. All right. So this week is going to be a good topic, and it's going to be about grades. Obviously, grades matter. We're in a day and age where we talk about holistic review, and pre-meds, you guys should all know what holistic review is. That means when the medical schools are reviewing your application, they try to look at it from a holistic perspective. They want to make sure that it's not just your grades and your MCAT, but they want to make sure that everything else is good too. So they want to make sure that you're shadowing, you're volunteering, you have leadership experiences, that you've done other cool things. They want to see you as a real person beyond just the numbers. So we know that's important, and we hear it all the time. Holistic review. Nonetheless, you still got to get the numbers. And the reason I say you still have to get the numbers is because med school is becoming, it's so difficult to get into now in terms of the grades and MCAT and things like that, that nowadays you have people who have great grades and great MCATs who are still holistic candidates, right? So it's not as if somebody with a 2.5 GPA who has got 1 million shadowing hours and who is leading the community center, things of that sort, that person's still probably not going to get into med school, most med schools, right? Because why would you take that individual if you have somebody who has a 4.0 and a 520 on an MCAT and is doing the same exact things as that other individual, right? And you might have the same struggles. I get it, right? There are a lot of things that play into this. So family dynamics, family background, things of that sort. But the point I'm trying to make is there are people who are coming from the same situation as you who nowadays are getting those same high scores and same GPA. And in large part, that's because there's so many resources available for students to take advantage of nowadays that they can create their own curriculum, I should say, create their own pathway to doing well academically. So whereas in the past, the internet didn't have as much resources on it. It was hard to figure out, okay, how do I get the best MCAT study materials? How do I find the connections and the people I need to talk to? Nowadays, you guys have things like PreMed Star, for example. You can come on here, get all sorts of resources, and get all this guidance to help get you to that next level. With that in mind, you have to realize, even in the day and age of holistic review, getting the grades matters. All right, getting the grades matter. Getting the MCAT score matters. It doesn't have to be a perfect GPA. It doesn't have to be a perfect MCAT, but you got to give it your all, and you got to try to get as high up there as possible, all right? With that said, today we're going to be talking about 5 keys to making straight A's. Very important topic, okay? And these are things that I did throughout my undergraduate years and things that I've been mentoring students to do now for the past, goodness gracious, 15 years about. And things that I've seen work for countless students and helping students get into medical school. So these are my 5 tips to making straight A's. There's a lot more tips out there, but these are things that I think you should take heed to, pay attention to, okay? So tip number 1, believe you can do it. Believe you can do it. It sounds lovey-dovey, sounds fluffy, I get it, but trust me, this is the starting point. You have to believe you can do it. I talk about this often when I talk to pre-meds. One of the biggest things that keeps people from getting to medical school is a lack of confidence. A lack of confidence. I've met so many pre-medical students who'll say, oh, Dr. Dale, I just don't know if I can do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm going to apply to this type of program instead. I'm going to do this, do that. And they don't have confidence. And I get it. We all struggle with confidence at one point or another. But if you're talking about, hey, I want to be a doctor. If you're talking about, hey, I want to get into medical school. I want to get straight A's. You have to have confidence. You have to believe that you can do it. And again, how many people have to believe in you for you to be successful? The answer is 1, and that 1 is you. You got to believe in yourself in order for you to be successful. So if you're telling yourself, hey, I think I can go after straight A's. I want to make straight A's this semester. believe you can do it. Don't just say it, but believe you can do it in your heart of hearts. You got to say, hey, I can actually do this, right? Because if you don't believe it, then you're wasting your time, right? Nobody stumbles across straight A's. You have to work for it. In order to work for something, that means you have to believe that you can accomplish it to begin with. So first step, believe you can do it. Second step, motivate yourself. You got to motivate yourself, right? Believing is one thing, but you got to be able to motivate yourself and keep yourself going. Kind of goes back to what we talked about last week's episode. Last week's episode got some good feedback. I see my people really enjoyed that episode. So if you didn't hear it, go back and check it out. It was about knowing your why. All right. So motivating yourself goes back to knowing your why. What are your reasons for wanting to do this? That's one of the very first motivators. Other thing you need to do in motivating yourself is have external cues. Now, I firmly believe in this because I did this throughout my undergraduate years and it worked wonders for me. I always tell the story. When I was in college, when I first got there, first of all, a lot of people didn't think I could get straight A's. A lot of people discouraged me. A lot of people told me, or just talking negativity to me on a constant basis. So first of all, I had to believe in myself. I had to throw out everything they were saying and believe that I could do it. Boom. That's out of the way. Done. Check mark. Next thing is, how do I motivate myself and stay encouraged? With so much negativity around, how do I stay encouraged to get the grades? And the way I did that was by using external cues. And the big one was a big sign on my bulletin board in my dorm that said 4.0. 4.0. So every day I would wake up, I would see this big sign that says 4.0 right there in the middle of my bulletin board. I had to see it. Couldn't get away from it. And on that same board, I had all sorts of other encouraging statements like failure is not an option. Do it for your family. And all sorts of things all around my board. And then there were pictures interspersed between. So every time I walked into my dorm room, I was reminded, hey, Dale, you said you were going to get a 4.0 this semester. I didn't, nobody else put this on you. You said you were going to do it. You got to do it, right? So do things like that. Find ways to encourage yourself. External cues are great. Write it down, put it up somewhere. Take a picture of something that's of value to you. Put that picture up somewhere, right? Motivate yourself. The third point is ask others to hold you accountable. And that's why PreMed Star is so great. And that's why the whole idea in PreMed Mondays, we ask you to make sure you have an accountability buddy. So hopefully all of you listen to this have already got your accountability buddy. If not, I know there are people on PreMed Star always looking for accountability buddies. So make sure you get one, all right? But ask others to hold yourself accountable, to hold you accountable, because it's easy for you to set your own personal goal. And if your conviction, your will, your determination is not strong enough, you can just forget about that goal and act like you never did it. Say, oh, I really didn't mean I was going to go for a 4.0. I was just dreaming. What was I thinking? That wasn't going to happen. But now if I tell myself, hey, I'm going to get a 4.0, I write it down. I got my external cues. And then I tell my buddy also and say, hey, I'm going to get a 4.0 and I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to stand by my side and call me out when I'm doing the wrong things. I want you to check on me every other week and ask how I'm doing. I want you to ask me if I use my resources. I want you to stay on top of me and help me do this. Now, once you make that unofficial contract with somebody, so a verbal contract, verbal agreement with somebody else, and give them permission to hold you accountable, that's going to push you to work hard. That's going to move you one step closer to your goal of getting straight A's, okay? Very important. Very, very important. You can't do it by yourself. They always say, there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? So do this one together because you want to go far in the journey of becoming a doctor, right? The fourth thing is master your study techniques. This is critical. So for a lot of individuals, myself included, we went through high school, regardless of what high school was like. You studied a certain way, and that study style is probably not going to transition well to college. And I'll use myself as an example. I barely studied in high school. I was a ball player. All I wanted to do was play basketball, right? So I played basketball the vast majority of the time and barely ever studied. So when I got to college, I was like, wow, I got to study now. What is going on here? Like, they want me to know all this stuff. This is legit stuff. I can't just walk in and take these tests anymore. So when I got to college, I had to completely change my study style. And I did a variety of things to make that happen. I was very focused. I thought about how I was going to study. I came up with study strategies and I figured out who I was going to study with. But the key is when I first got there, I said, these are going to be my study techniques. So I devised different systems. I learned how to study as an individual and I learned how to study in a group setting. Two very different things, but important. Most of my time was spent studying in the individual setting, and I would argue that yours should be as well. And then when I came to the group settings, most of that was meant to be review for me, right? So master your study techniques. Figure out, am I a visual learner, an audio learner? For me personally, I'm an audio learner, right? So I listen to tons of audiobooks, and I listen to a lot of stuff because that's how I learn. I'm able to absorb information very well that way. So if that works for you, figure out what you can listen to. Nowadays, when I was in college, we didn't have like YouTube and stuff wasn't big. But nowadays, you guys have YouTube. You have resources all over the place that you can be listening to and learning passively while you're in the car, while you're working out. So figure out if some of these things work for you. And if they do, take advantage of them. So master your individual study techniques. If it means you're rewriting all your notes, if you're reading the course material the day before the lecture, so you're going to lecture as a review, just figure out what works for you. And figure it out early. Try it out early. If it doesn't work, change it. And then figure out what works for you. Very important. Master your own study techniques. Whatever I say works for me might not work exactly for you, okay? So master yours. An important thing, let me throw this little caveat in there. And I think we'll talk about this later in the podcast. If you have the book, you can skip ahead and you can find this. But studying in a group can be detrimental if you don't do it right. So whenever you're studying in the group, the most important thing is you need to make sure you pick the right people to be in your group. Because group study time, first of all, can be either a waste of time. So you might get there and just be goofing off with your friends. So that's pointless. Or you might get there and be studying with people who didn't prepare for the group study time. So you're dragging you down, and that's pointless too, right? So pick your group members right. Very important. Make sure you're getting what you want to get out of that group whenever you go study in that group. All right. So master your study techniques. And the fifth and final point is use your resources. Use your resources. This is another spot where I see so many pre-meds missing the mark, not using resources. A lot of college campuses just have tons of stuff to help you. The most important resource probably is going to be your professor. Professors have office hours. They have office hours for a reason, because they want students, or even if they don't want students to come, they still have the office hours because they expect students to show up and ask them questions. So do that. Take advantage of that resource. When I was a pre-medical student, I would go to my professor's office hours 1 week before every test, sit down there, and I would pick your brains for 30 minutes to an hour, whatever. 1 week before every test, I would go there with my questions and say, what about this? What about that? Did I do this right? Can you look at this? Explain this to me. And I'll pick their brains. And you get so much out of that hour or 30 minutes or even 20 minutes, whatever it is. You get so much information in that one-on-one setting from the professor. And subconsciously, they're probably telling you things that, so you're not going to say, hey, this question is going to be on the test. But subconsciously, they're going to make sure you're getting certain concepts that they know are going to be on the test. Probably because they're just now writing the test, or they're getting ready to reviewing the test for next week. So it's on their mind, whether they know it or not, it's on their mind. So whenever they're teaching you in this one-on-one setting, subconsciously they're giving you information that's going to help you do better on the test. So take advantage of that. Other thing is tutors. A lot of students don't want to use a tutor. Here's my rule of thumb. If you don't have an A in the class, or don't think you can get an A in the class on your own, get a tutor. Simple. If you don't have an A, you're a pre-medical student, right? So you want the best grades you can get. If you don't have an A, get a tutor. There's nothing wrong with that. Now I'm talking about, let me put the caveat here. If the tutor is free, because I understand some people, finances come into play and it's difficult. A lot of college campuses have free tutoring services. I know mine did. So don't have an A. If you don't think you can change something in your study habits to get the A on your own, go out and get a tutor. You have to realize some people have too much pride and they say, oh, I don't want to get a tutor because, I don't want to be seen as somebody who needed a tutor. Well, if you think about the kids who do best, like just think about high school for a second, all right? The best high schools in the country, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and we have some of the best high schools in the country, private high schools at least. And a lot of these kids' parents pay for private tutors for them. There's a reason they're the best, because they get tutoring. These are kids who are already making great grades, not as if you're doing bad, right? Think about it from a sports perspective. Kobe Bryant. I'm watching some videos on YouTube a second ago. I was looking at LeBron James Jr., LeBron James' son. And you're talking about these guys all have these excellent world-class trainers. Even though they're already the best at their level, they still have trainers to make sure they stay the best. So if you don't have an A, get a tutor. For me, it's really that simple. And I would say just get rid of your pride in that situation. Don't even think about it. Do what you have to do to get the grades you need. Let me rephrase that actually. Do what you have to do as long as you're not breaking any rules to get the grades that you need so you can get into med school. It's on you and you can do it. I believe you can do it. I need you to believe you can do it also, right? So that's what I've got for you guys. Those are just 5 quick tips. And of course, there's tons more tips out there about how to get the grades, and I'll go through some more of them in the course of the podcast, future episodes. But those are the 5 basic ones that you have to figure out early. You need to get those down early, and you need to stick with them, and those will lay the foundation for you to grow and continue to do better, all right? So this week's challenge is simple. Make a sign with your semester GPA goal. Show the sign to your accountability buddy. So showing it to them is proof that you actually did it. So make a sign with your GPA goal for this semester and show it to your accountability buddy. Just take a picture or whatever and send it to your accountability buddy so they know that you did it, and post it up on your wall somewhere. Let that be your motivating factor. Let that be your motivating factor. All right, friends. So next week, we're going to be talking about 5 signs you need a tutor. That's week 15, all right? And I just gave you a tip for the first one already. 5 signs you need a tutor is what we're going to be talking about next week. Very important stuff. Don't be too proud to say, hey, I need help, because we all do it. I get help. Everybody gets help. Love you guys. Have any questions, you know where to find me. PreMedStar.com. Subscribe to the podcast. Share the podcast. Make sure you guys are checking out the PreMed Voice. Oh, and if you guys didn't check out last week's episode, it was amazing. It was Aaron Dotson, who is a med student at St. Louis University, and he talked about why he loves his med school. So if you didn't check out the PreMed Voice last week, definitely go back and check it out. You're going to learn a lot about kind of how you choose your medical school, and he talks specifically about his med school also. Definitely subscribe to the PreMed Voice as well. Love you guys, and I will see you online at PreMedStar.com.